fuck? Are you fucking serious right now? What the fuck? What was the point of making a goddamn title if they weren't gonna goddamn fucking listening to it? I swear to God. Like, what the actual fuck, bro? Like, why? Why would I call it that? Okay. Yeah, hey, what is up, you guys? Alchemist Ganjier here. Welcome to another episode of NP's Canacult. Let's see if we're working in a digital studio today, the online interview studio today. So things are a little bit different. You might notice the music is a little different, among other things. And I am here today with Arluss Webb of White Lightning Seeds. Uh, Yo, bud, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Doing good. How are y'all?
Now, doing awesome, doing awesome here. Yes, yes, yes. Me, just solo tonight. My tech person is on the break. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that you're feeling better after your migraine yesterday. I know like
Yeah.
this can be pretty raunchy.
I get those like from the shoulder, you get the shoulder up tight and then it's just all up in your head.
Yo, yes, I know just what you're talking about with those. I am also at similar risk. Although I've seen your shoulders, you've got those broad shoulders. I feel like you could lift me over your
Yeah,
head.
yeah. And we get like, but
Now, but yes, here let's bring ourselves in. Get nice and cozy. So I guess I the first question I'd like to ask you in all this is uh, if you had to summarize what it is you do fundamentally and why you do it, how would you summarize it?
um, the title I always laugh and love to give myself is cannabis enthusiast because I kind of fall in a lot of categories. If it's weed, anything to do with weed, I'm probably there. You probably see me or somebody there who does it knows me. So that's like what so like I like to do genetics. I like to do history. I like to help get the local community together as far as the cannabis community to get together and try to do stuff. And then I like to connect dots between the cannabis community as well and get everybody working together because we should be working together. There's no reason to be working against each other, everybody working solo for the same common cause.
No, is that why you decided to get into breeding specifically? It seems like
So
with creating
the
those seeds like
reason,
that, it would naturally bring a lot of people together.
so what got me into making a seed company, or what got me into breeding?
Um, let's start with that, the breeding part. Like, what is that? Why you got into breeding seeds? In the first place.
So the original reason I started breeding seeds is because it was hard to get. It was very fucking illegal, and every time I would order seeds, I felt like I was leaving some sort of fucking paper trail to be my demise and end up in prison. Which luckily that didn't end up happening. Um, in my friend group, I was the only one that would really be brave enough to order those seeds, and then everybody would just kind of get them for me or get clones of what I had, and it was kind of expensive too. I'm sure we've all bought seeds before that are real expensive, and to prevent having to buy more seeds, or if I lost those clones, well, what do I do then? Because I didn't have this good genetics that I was getting from, ordering, and so I was talking online with like TJ Subcool and like people like that in chat rooms back at that point in time, and those guys were really encouraging of getting people to do their own breeding and such. And his big thing on me was I only grew fem seeds because I was a new grower, and why would I want to grow a male? That's so dumb. Like like why don't I want seeds? And then they were like, you should try it sometime. Just grow some reg seeds. If you open your world up from fem seeds to reg seeds, you're literally like doubling the amounts of variety that you can even obtain, even more than that probably. So it was originally just so I could have my own seeds, just so I didn't have to buy them or order them. And I started with like a Hindu Kush from Cincy Seed Company. That was probably like one of the first regs that I grew. And I just did an open pollination basically with what I had on hand. I had some super silver sour diesel haze at that point in time. I had some super lemon haze from Greenhouse Seeds. I had G13 from Pineapple Express from G13 Labs. Um,
Nice.
what else? I also did a cross to Cannabis seeds they had at that point in time. It was called Aphrodite.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
it was basically Jack Herer to me, like a good Jack Herer, um, but I just did that, and I can remember at that point in time. there was seeds in all this weed, right? Like, so there were seeds, but if you grew it, it was like, weed. It was okay, but if you grew good genetics, it was way different. So it's
Yeah.
hard to obtain those genetics. That was kind of it. It was preserving genetics so that I could play with them and work with them and have more to play with. And I would go to these parties, whatever, and I really got into for a while trying to talk everybody into buying 150-watt high pressure sodium light from Blue Ridge Hydro back when they were over at Lamplighter Mall, and long time ago, and basically just telling everybody to grow their own so they didn't have to go out and buy it, and if they couldn't find it, they could do it in a closet. And so I would hand out a pack of seeds to all these different people. Like I would hand out 10 packs, and maybe at the end of the night, I'd find all 9 packs sitting somewhere. Because people were like, "I got seeds in my weed, dude. Like I don't need this." Like they didn't understand. But the
Yeah.
guy who actually took it home, that 1 pack, I hope that they were like, "Holy shit!" Like that guy was talking the truth. Because it's just like day and night when you get good genetics and actually see them in action versus something like old Mexican bread.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, speaking of good genetics versus bag seed, what are some things that you look for, particularly with good genetics? Yeah, like what's like some of the top 10 things you're looking for?
Well, of course, your buzz, first of all. Size of plant. I'm particularly a very big terpene fan. I like smells. Like I like something to taste good and smell good. Um, I like translation of smell to taste. Some plants will have smell, but it will not translate to taste. Like you could smell all this blueberry and funk and all this, and then you go to smoke and you're like, ugh, it doesn't taste anything like it smells.
Yeah,
And
man. If I
I love something that has a good transition from the smell to the taste.
Right, okay.
Um, it doesn't have to be super strong. Like I'm not out here like looking at THC percentages, looking for that highest THC that I can find. I'm most likely looking for something that's got a little bit of CBD in there and maybe like a mild 10 to 15% THC for personal smoke.
Right, right,
Because I can smoke more of it, and there's a good little ceiling, a good like full spectrum going on there. It's just a good enjoyable buzz.
right. So
But
you mentioned. Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
let's say, and you can see too, like if like growing, I used to like I had stuff that like when we were kids we would breed a little bit too. Like before breeding that really nice stuff, we would you would have herms, of course, so you get seed out of your Mexican red. But we would grow out those seeds when we got into genetics, finally took the chance and grow them side by side. You could see like day and night. You'd have both buds that were hairy, but these were frosty. Like these had trichomes
Yeah,
on there on the actual plant matter. Where like these, they just looked more greasy. Is the way I put it. It was just leaf matter
yeah,
with hair coming out of it,
yeah,
lots of hair. But it was different. If you grow the two different side by side, and then some of that red though, like you get it as a brick, and it would be horrible.
yeah, yeah. That
But then you
composition,
grew it
right?
out and feed, and some of it wasn't that bad, honestly. Like we would tear it up, like fresh grown, actually properly cured. It was amazing. I got a chicken on the loose over here.
Yeah, I hear the cheaping. Oh my gosh!
There's the culprit.
It looks like a little like a hawk or something. I don't think I've seen too many
There's
adolescent
all sorts of breeds.
chicks that aren't like babies or adults.
Of course, now they're all bailing on me. Get back in your box.
I'll turn up his mic real quick so you guys can hear it all.
All of them did. All right, now I'm back.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was able.
To do like one bailed, and they were all like, "Yeah, that was great. Let's all do that."
So,
running. All right, so back to it.
Yeah, let me ask you. You mentioned before you were talking about flavor translation. So you're looking for stuff that like has like a pretty direct translation, like it smells the way that it tastes, or are you also like looking at things that are like they transition, but maybe it's a pleasant one? Like for example, I was with Ian Hill earlier today, and he broke out some of that 75U. Remember her? No, not remember her. It was early. It was labeled early harvest, and that's all I'll say from that. But it was all stuff that was like I think trimmed off of a run that he did like very 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 early. And he said it hadn't been opened at all or like smelled or anything since it had gotten it. We cracked it open and it smelled like cilantro and cucumbers. And he was confident it was going to be awful. He was like, "Oh no, this is going to be terrible." And I'm like, we'll see what happens. And so we hit it in the hash rig, and really smooth. The flavor was definitely not what it smelled. For the better. It was very like very smooth like smoke. Very like it was still a bit vegetal, but there was more some like citrusy notes and like a kind of like overall like well. It was a hash kind of flavor.
It makes me wonder too. Like this made me never ponder it too much, but like we sit here and talk about like how terpenes and stuff at different they boil at different room temperatures and yada yada yada. Yeah. It makes me wonder if there's some cannabis strains out there that it's heavy only in high boil point terpenes. It's not gonna smell at room temperature, but when you put a flame to it, that's at a high enough boil point that it actually disperses.
Yeah, I mean, I think
say so.
That could be a possibility.
Same thing with dad, like you do it at different temps for different flavor, and it totally can change a flavor of a terpene. Same thing.
Yeah, that reminds me of like there are some cultivars that'll the flavor on the inhale is different from the exhale due to the temperature change of the smoke as you're like breathing it and whatnot.
That's cool.
That there have been like I feel like I've had cultivars where like I didn't really taste it until I exhaled it, or I tasted it on the inhale and I didn't really like actually, huh. Now that I think about that, I don't know if I've had a cultivar where I noticed it on the inhale, but not like on the exhale. Flavor wise, yeah, that's a real thinker right there. But yeah, so let's talk a little more about how like you first got interested in cannabis. Okay, what was your first meaningful experience with growing or breeding cannabis?
All right, first meaningful growing experience is I actually got to grow it before I smoked it. I had the bad kid neighbor who was super smart business wise. And basically she came to me one day and she handed me some seeds and was like, "Hey, I'll pay you $40 to grow these plants. It's weed." And I was like, "Oh wow, what?" She's like, "It's fine, just keep it hidden, grow it over there. You know what you're doing. You're a little green thumb farm kid." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, $40, we'll try." And grew it, and they got lucky. They were all female. It was 2 female plants, and I remember, you know how they get to like the Guy Fieri stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right here, they're not quite turning yet.
Yeah.
And then I cut them down then. Because I was like nervous. Well, I didn't even cut them down, dude. I ripped them up roots and all. Took them to her roots and all. I was like, here's your plants. You know, like I don't know what the fuck to do with it. And I watched her like over the next few months, like dry it, process it, put it into little pen joints, and sell it and make money. And I was just like, wow. And this was like my next door neighbor. And I was like, man, like that's great. Like I'll definitely grow her some next year, and I'm gonna grow myself some too.
Yeah,
And
right.
over that time until the next season, I ended up trying it because I was like, man, I love smelling it, and that was my favorite. To this day, it's still one of my favorite things about the plant is just going up to it and pinching it a little bit on the bud and just like smelling that fresh grown while it's growing terpenes and all that in there, because you don't really capture that after it's dried and processed. Like it's such a beautiful live plant that it's just ugh. But so I ended up growing more the next year, and that's kind of how it all started with me getting into growing weed, was just running around all the farmland that I had access to and hiding in the edges of hay fields and watching for like when the farmer would come in to cut hay and be like, oh shit, the farmer's showed up with equipment. I need to sneak in there tonight and take my plants and move them 10 foot back from the edge of the field so they didn't have, you know, all the exposure. I used to love just the sneaking around of it and the people not knowing what I was doing and just figuring it out, because there wasn't a lot of information. And then when I got on forums, that's when shit really like hit the fucking fan, like on the internet, when I was like, oh wow, there's like all these people who've already been doing all this shit and they've already figured it out. So I can just read and figure out like a lot of the shit. And then of course there's a bunch of bullshit people and they're giving bullshit advice always. So I tried a
Yeah.
bunch of bullshit advice and like tried a bunch of bullshit ways and then learned my own, you know, like, oh, well, that's because like you'll see me on shit and I'll be like talking, like some people are like, oh, you're no. I'm like, dude, I've been around for like 15 years doing this shit. Of course I've put ice on my fucking plant. Of course I've seen some old man tell me I should drive a nail through the stalk. Of course I've had someone tell me I should pull every tip off of every plant. Of course I've had someone tell me I should beat a plant up like constantly. Like
Yeah, abuse is how they get better. It's like
it's
as
out there.
many.
Like give it
It's like,
Kool-Aid, give it to make it taste like blueberry, like dumb shit. Like, oh my god. All of it,
oh,
all of it. All the
but
bro science, it's been there, it's been disproven, and it's been posted somewhere on a forum by somebody at some point in time. And it's so funny too, seeing like more modern legalization stuff happening, like a lot more groups now, and you see the same patterns and cycles of dumb shit that happened 10 years ago on a forum on a Facebook nowadays. You know, some people come up with the same, like, I've got this new idea. I've got a brand new way to grow wheat. Nobody's ever done this. There's like
yeah. Really?
similar recipes somewhere, maybe something close, but yeah, maybe your recipe's one ingredient, you know, like. And there's so much lore that people don't even know, and so much history that's there that, you know, you have all these people that are weed fanatics that don't know about like the castle in Amsterdam and the bulldog, or you know, stuff
Yeah,
like that. Or
we're like really deprived. It's like as people rely on
Sam the
main.
Skunk Man, you know, stuff
What's
here
that?
in America. Sam the Skunk Man.
Oh yes, rest in peace.
Yeah, like he passed recently. Like rest his soul. Like a lot of people don't know who he is. A
Yeah,
lot of Virginia people that were transplants to other places. Cannabis, like Virginia's always been a hot spot.
yeah. Speaking of Virginia and the notables, because like you mentioned earlier, with like all the forum stuff and all the like just the bro science and the fray, I like sounds like you had a lot of trial and error going on. But was there I saw a post that you made not terribly long ago about a mentor of yours. What mentors, or are there any like particular mentors that really like impacted you in your growing?
Um, well, a lot of it was buddies learning together, you know, because in the early illegal days, like I said, there wasn't much info out there to grow weed or to figure out what to do other than, if you seeked it out, and it was just fun to get with like friends and discover it together. And um, in the past few years, I've lost a few people, but Eddie Rabbit was like one of my favorite. Eddie Williams.
Right.
Um, he was just a poor dude who lived in Rocky Mount who really loved smoking weed. And I became friends with him through his son, and we smoked weed together and hung out a lot. And I found out that he was a little bit of an amateur guerrilla grower himself, and I was like, "Hey, like, let's do things together." And we smoked together. And then when I got turned on to good genetics, of course, I was like, "Yo, dude, you've got to check this shit out." And one of my favorite things with him though is when we were growing and we had like limited access to genetics, you'd only have like, man, we've got this Pineapple Express this year. Like, we've got this pack of seeds. This is what we're growing. This is what everybody I know has because they got my cuts from me. And before that, it was kind of like, hey, I kind of had some good seeds I got from Uncle Jim Bob, and I've got some good seeds from here occasionally. And people would get together and kind of like, hey, I've got this good blueberry from, somebody got a pack of short seeds, and like grew them out. But I would have like my group's genetics. My favorite thing about this guy Eddie though is he was always wanting to try more and different stuff.
Mm.
So I got turned on to a lot of seed companies will do like a variety pack or like an outdoor mix or for like a reduced price and stuff. So I started just buying him these mix packs as
Oh,
gifts.
nice.
So I would give him these packs and he started hunting. And this was like we were hunting before we even knew what hunting was. And he would just hunt out stuff and find it, and we would trade clones back and forth. And it's funny too because we were just doing stuff blindly. I remember my first breeding projects. I had a little black book, and I would keep track of everything that I would grow. Like I was going through what I called my holy grail at first, and it was like trying to find, you just found like everybody, and you first discover good genetics and seeds. Like, oh, there's all this variety, so you're
Yeah.
collecting and hunting and collecting and hunting. But I had a little black book, and I had everything in there. And like a year or two ago, I found it when I was moving a bunch of stuff. I was like, "Oh, look! Like here's all my stuff." And then I flipped back and I found like my first breeding projects,
Oh,
and
nice.
it was all apostrophe stuff, like initials of what the things was, so that if anybody ever found it, they wouldn't be like, "Oh, OG skunk this," and blah, 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 like they'd be like, "It's just initials."
Yeah.
They'd never know. But I was blindly doing shit. But I did a back cross on accident at that point in time, and not realizing what I was doing. But
Oh,
in theory, it kind of made sense to me at that point too. Like, yo,
right.
like I really like this, and I cross this with this to make this a little different, but I want to push this a little bit more. Okay,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But it was neat, like that I was doing stuff like that. Just. But it was just happened to be that I had those seeds at that time, and I happened to put those in, and it just happened that way, and it wasn't on purpose. Like it's and it's real crazy too, because then you know, um, I love studying. I love reading up on stuff. So at that point in time, I was working a lot, and that was like my main focus. So I would just sit there and go on the internet and read. Look up a seed company, for instance, and I would order a pack of whatever 2 or 3 packs of seeds or whatever I thought was their best, and I'd take them and I'd grow them and I'd give them my own rating, and I would be like, yeah, this seed company's bunk, like yeah, they just got
Yeah.
some mediocre shit. And then occasionally you'd run into some seed companies, and you're like, oh wow, like these they're putting out what they're selling to a point.
Oh, very
Um,
nice.
you have like some stuff is like you're buying because you want an open pool, you want this sort of thing. It doesn't have to be exact, but it wants to be in that. Then you have some people that are doing like line work, and it's just like one pheno, and it's like, okay, I got that one pheno. So they're both good, and they're both in their own worlds.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I
Yeah.
want to find something over here. It's its own thing, or I want that, just that. you know. So hell
Got
yeah.
so with talking about all of these different all this variety and these different cultivars that you're coming across in your crossing and mixing, like Um, at what point did you find yourself like beginning to like narrow down on like certain genetics? Was there like a point where you found that, or has it just been this ongoing journey of just exploring all of these different flavors and just
So
picking out the special ones?
it was different goals. The first goal was I wanted to find one hitter quitter. That was the goal since high school. You know, when we were all young, we wanted the weed that just fucked us up after like smoking one bowl, just like paralyzed. And I found some stuff that would paralyze me out of fucking anxiety. And that was Jack the Ripper from Subcool Seeds.
Oh, good old
That,
Jack the Ripper. Yeah.
yeah, that shit. It wasn't the indica that I thought. I always thought it was going to be some indica that was like, oh god, like, that shit. I'm stricken. Oh god, like that's what that shit did to me. So,
Yeah.
and the thing is, when I got there, I wasn't a huge fan of that flavor because it was that just THC flavor. You know what I mean? It's just weed.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper is very just like weed, peppery and anxiety, and I did not like it. But I like sativas. I like uppity, but I don't like anxiety. So I've got there, and then I was like, well, on the way there, trying to find just like strong weed and being new to just genetics and good weed in general, growing these seeds, everything was new to me. I went for flavors. I was like, man, I really like that like white berry from Sirius. You know, like Sirius seeds had white berry. That shit was good. So then
Yeah.
I wanted to collect. I wanted a blueberry. I wanted, you know, the blackberries they had at that time, the purple blackberries that were real popular. I wanted the white widow. I wanted the white rhino. I wanted the different flavors, and I wanted to get like all the different fruits. Just kind of see what was out there. The lemons. I got a good super lemon haze. Greenhouse super lemon haze, still good to this day. Um,
Super
but
lemon haze. Goodness.
oh, and then after I got like kind of stagnant on just collecting different like flavors of stuff, because that was like really heavy in the cheese heavy days. It was pre cookies. Cookies wasn't a thing yet. It was real heavy. Like everybody was like either a white widow cross, a blueberry cross, a cheese cross. Like those were the dominant.
Yeah.
A hazy cross, sour D crosses. That was like the predominant thing on the scene at that point in time. After I got kind of bored of that, it went from that to I started discovering THC profiles, CBD, CBG,
Yeah.
and different arrangements, 1-1s, 2-1s, 6-1s, stuff like that. And I started going into weird groups, and then I discovered about autoflowers about that time period.
Uh-huh.
Um, that was around lowrider days. Um, Lowriders, and then Mozzie, her purple gems. That around that period of autoflowers, like the early days,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
real early. And I remember too, like getting lowrider too. I gotten some from an amateur breeder off of a forum, and we were all talking, and um, it was a CBD
Yeah.
freaking autoflower. So grew it. It was like a CBD heavy one, and I was not impressed. I was like, okay, this is a neat little plant. I love how it was small. I love how it was automatically triggered, and it was in my veg room. I didn't have to put it in the flower room. I was like, oh, this is cool. Once they get that shit down. And then I went on a forum because I was young and dumb, and I bitched about fucking autoflowers. Like, oh, these are dumb. I hate autoflowers. Oh, why would you ever want to do that? Oh, just stick to photos. I hated that. Looking back, I'm like, oof, I did not know. I did not know.
Yeah.
And then somebody, and this is what I love about the cannabis community. Somebody reached out and was like, hey, man, hey, like, yeah, that weed sucks. But have you checked out Mozzie? And I'm like, who's Mozzie? And they're like, oh, this is the Spanish lady out of like Spain, and she like breeds just autoflowers, and she has these gems, dude. And like, some of you know Jim from nowadays from Gnome Automatics.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, Jim, that's
Huh.
Mozzie.
Oh
Mozzie
my
is
gosh, I didn't realize that.
so if you like autoflowers nowadays, think Mozzie. That lady really advanced the game at that point in time to making autoflowers from a novelty into something that could be taken seriously. That's when it really, to me, I was like, hey, because like I was just like, fuck autoflowers. And then somebody was like, dude, order a pack of these. And I remember it was like, I want to say it was like $25, and I got 30 regular autoflowers. And at that point in time, you could not find a feminized fucking autoflower. They was not a thing. Feminized seeds were kind of a newer thing. There were people out there, oh, this is going to ruin cannabis. And now you look like now you're like, oh, there's regular seeds. Oh wow, that's rare. Because everybody has fems. It's just the market, and it's so crazy to see every 10 years how cannabis changes. And you
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
if you're new to cannabis, wait 10 years. It's all going to change again. Hopefully,
Yeah,
get out of this guy cookies and purple candy base. Which I still love both of them. I still smoke both of them, and I like them.
But we could do
So I grew the purple gems from Mozzie. I grew them in a fridge, like a double open fridge, and I had a 150 light in there where I'd cut out the freezer or whatever.
yes,
Fans
this is
out the back, fans in the side,
yes.
and I did it because I was afraid of the heat signatures back then. But basically, the first time I grew them, it was a seed project. I knew that I had to continue. I knew that I couldn't clone them at that point in time, and I knew that I had to grow them from seed every time. So, like, I was like, all right, males and females, let's go. Just let it go, and I let those breed with the intentions of growing guerrilla style in cornfields because you can grow in a corn. You can't grow photoperiod plants in a regular silage cornfield, which is heavily what we grow in this area. You can only grow cannabis photoperiod plants in a shell cornfield because the harvest is after the cannabis. So if you put your weed plant, don't do that, into a silage cornfield, you see them out there just chopping up the whole plant. Don't put it in that field. If you have a cornfield where they let the corn stalks stay there and they get all dried up and they're like the things are hanging and they come through a little combine, it separates the thing from the stalks. You can do it in that one. So anyway, so I grew these out and they were really, really nice though. Like I want to say it was like, I want to say that Mozzie was using like a white widow because everything was white widow about that point.
Yeah.
But a white widow crossed into an autoflower that of her choice that was really well, and it had some purple phenos in it, like here and there. The modern gem that Gnome has, you'll see him talk about it sometimes, and he'll say, "Hey, there is no purple in this auto. Like we got rid of the purple out of the gem because they were the CBD heavy, and purple usually tends to have a little bit less of a THC heavy driven. But with those autoflowers, you could grow them out in the cornfield and harvest them before like the July, midsummer when the helicopters started flying looking for your fucking plants." And you could grow it in between, like they missed a corner on a cornfield, they'd leave like a row of empty. You'd start them inside about the same time, like a week before you put them out, and then put them out there about a week later, and they'd be about as high as the corn, and they would keep up until they got about there. And a corn would eventually get a little higher than it, but it wouldn't matter by then because they were already established. So,
how tall does corn get anyway?
Taller than you.
Taller than me, but
depending on the season. I think the bad season is going to finish out about our height a little bit higher than our height. But corn can get up to like 7, 8, 9 foot depending on the season.
Right, because
by the end of the season too.
Yeah, that would be.
But by like July, you're thinking like hip high.
Right. Okay.
Like when they're done, it's about hip high.
Now, I need to imagine someone feeling very unlucky to have a random like vigorous freak start growing. It's like, God damn it, why is this growing 10, 12, 13 feet tall?
Oh yeah, some sativa land race, like, oh shit.
Yeah, right.
And that's happened with focus, dude. Like we growing up farming and stuff, like running silage trucks, you'd hear come over the walkie-talkie. Yeah, from somebody's pot plant.
Like, oops.
Oh, dude, that was like even, and I hated it too because like my dad, bless his soul, has always been anti-pot, and his family and his friends and all the farming community, kind of like, not they weren't too much in the pot. It would be a thing for us to be out doing shit, and they'd be like, in the winter, oh, look at all them 5-gallon buckets down there in the woods. If you grow illegally in the woods, don't leave behind all your damn pots and all the evidence. They will see it. Like, we literally, like, all the time, you would see them, be like, look, down there, see, look at all those 3-gallon black planters that they had left over from grandma's bushes that they decided to fucking grow weed in the like, maybe they were successful, maybe they weren't. A lot of times when I do see those, like, if you're driving around the winter and you see, like, the random pots in the middle of the woods somewhere, a lot of times if they leave the pots, that means they didn't get shit. They're never coming back.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, let's try to grow pot in the middle of this dark ass forest.
So, well, I guess it would probably be obvious, but like, I wonder if it's some of those might be instances of some fabric pots that are bag pots that fell out of the canopies of trees.
So we used to do that shit too, dude. I remember I used to get hanging baskets. I would steal my mom's hanging baskets when she would transplant. You would transplant them out of the plastic ones into the nice ones. I would steal those plastic ones because we had a garden shed, and we would keep every damn pot, of course, because my mom had a huge garden. So, like, my mom and my dad and them really influenced me heavily on learning, and my grandmother too. She was a big gardener of flowers, so I learned a lot of like flower gardening. Which then later on, I was like, it's a flower, it translated.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would use those hanging pots, and I remember it was so funny because, like, my dad, if he would have found my shit, it was done for. And I had a little plot that I liked to go and grow in, a little grove that was kind of like hilled in, but like dipped down. So, like, if I was there, you wouldn't see it, and then it was like fields.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I could access it, and I had a lot of privacy to get to it, and people not see me coming in and out of that place. And him and his buddy, like, we'd have cows get out. And I remember him and his buddy walked through the grove where my plants were and stopped. And like, my plants are like right above them, and I'm like sitting there like dying, like, oh my god, like thinking of all the lies that I'm gonna have to tell when they find them. Like, oh, whose plants are those?
Yeah, like what?
Must be the neighbor kid. Must be that neighbor kid.
Get here.
And so he only found one of my plants growing outside. And it's so ironic and funny. You remember this? I was talking about like bad bro advice or bad bro science.
Yeah.
I'd get an advice of taking every leaf and then plucking off just the tip of every leaf of the plant as a reaction, because the THC, bruh, is made, which is kind of true, is made to like deter bugs.
Yeah.
So if you stimulate that you're a bug eating the plant's going to make more THC to fight it. I did it, I don't know, but I literally went on this little plant that I had in one of those like hanging basket pots and just sat there and plucked off every fucking tip of every leaf. And it looked ugly, like, it hated me.
Yeah.
And I would bend, and it was the guy told me too, like, bend the stalks and kind of like the knuckle treatments that people do nowadays.
Cushman
the knuckle. It reminded me of kind of like a I was kind of doing a really shitty job of the Cushman chiropractics, basically, which I like a little bit of the Cushman chiropractics. I'm not like dogging that at all, because like I'll sit there and actually like bend my plant a lot when they're like mid-size and still like malleable.
Yeah.
Just to give them a little bit of like reinforcement so they'll bulk up a little bit. This shit does work. But
oh yeah, yes, I see
but
that.
my dad found it. So I remember my dad coming in and telling my mom at breakfast, I found a plant down there in this hayfield when I was down there in the room, and I was like, yeah, what kind of plant? What'd you find down there? And he's like, mom's like, what is it, a pot plant? And dad's like, I don't know what it was. It wasn't a pot plant. Leaves were all weird, and it didn't have no tips, and And she's like, well, what'd you do with it? He goes, I just flipped it over to the side into the bushes. And I'm like, God, no, that plant's gone. Like, he flipped it over the bushes. It must have broke, And the little thing survived. Like, I waited like a week before I went down there to like recover the plant. So I didn't want to at myself, you know. And I
Yeah.
went down there, and like when he flipped it, it like had like was like growing out from underneath of it like this, you know, like it had fallen like just like that, was just like growing up, doing his thing. I was like, hell yeah.
Life finds a way.
You know, another thing I used to do back in the gorilla days. I used to like a lot
Mhm.
was you're heating seedlings for their root growth.
Yeah.
I would find abandoned round bales on the edge of hayfields, and I would dig down a hole into them, right, and dig it out. And then I would take a solo cup and I would put down into that old ass round bale full of dirt and get my seeds started in the round bale, and then cover it back up with hay. So just like the dirt was at the top. So when you're going by, you don't see shit but like weeds growing out of these old ass bales that are rotting on the side. And these
Yeah.
bales put off tons of heat to the point where they almost catch on fire sometimes, like when they're
Yeah.
drying. Like sometimes like hay will catch on fire while it's drying. But these old ass bales, dude, that was the best. Like they would grow like versus starting them like just in a tray in the woods in the sunshine, like on the ground in pots, they wouldn't do as well. And that was like one of the things I really loved doing. And then using willow water, I would always use a lot of willow water at that point because that's what my grandfather would
What
use for all of his seedlings.
What do you mean by willow water?
So you take green willow saplings, green willow tree, whatever willow you have. But when they're like the green branches, you take a bunch of those off and you break them up into little pieces and you put it into a 5-gallon bucket and fill it with water. Let it sit 48 hours and all the rooting hormones come out of it, and then the nutrients and stuff out of it, and then you use that to water your plants.
Oh, how
It's a
about?
natural rooting water.
Okay, very cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes.
and willow grows like crazy. So if you got a willow tree near you, go at it. Go break you up a bunch and make you some willow water. Throw
I
you some
used
blackstrap molasses during flower. Feed your microbes. Do your thing.
I used to be afraid of willow trees, like
Yeah.
real. Yeah, because I okay, so I grew up in Baltimore, right? And there were willow trees around, but there was this really, really big old one that like had its branches and leaves go all the way down to like touching like the ground just about. But I saw it for the first time after I learned about carnivorous plants, like like the bell, like
Oh,
plants in the Venus
they could
flytrap.
grab you.
And I saw that and was like, oh, that tree's gonna eat me. And I refused to go near it. I was like, I can't. I like even it looked like it could be kind of cool, like to go like just play underneath it, like pretend like you're underneath like the table with like the dining cloth like over it, and you're like playing for it. But I was like, nah, that tree's gonna eat me.
When I grew up, we had a gigantic willow tree in our front yard, like humongous, like one of
Oh,
those old big ass ones. And we would take like gardening scissors and cut like doorways into it, and then make like little rooms into it
oh, dude, that sounds
because it would like come down
awesome.
so heavy. Yeah, I missed that when I was a kid, and then
Oh,
eventually it fell down.
I wish I wasn't such a wuss.
Dude, check this out. I had an oak tree that would go lean over a creek that my dad and them would play in when they were kids, but they showed me. And you'd go halfway up the trunk, and it was like leaning over a river. And you'd climb up the trunk, and there was a hole, and you'd go in the hole, and to come back down the trunk to the underneath the base of the tree to a lagoon underneath of the tree, like where the river came up into like the hollowed
Oh,
out trunk.
yeah.
And we could fit 2 or 3 people down in the base of it, like go in one at a time and then open up in the bottom. And we'd kind of be like feet to feet to feet, down in the bottom next to this lagoon. But we'd go down there and smoke and shit.
That that might be one of the greatest potential locations for this spot. They I want to ask you just white lightning seeds. Um,
Yeah.
how how did it get its name? How did you decide on that?
I was basically trying to make something that represented me and the area that I'm from, the culture of the area. Um, I grew up in Franklin County, Virginia, the moonshine capital of the world. I've worked with different folks across my lifetime who have been in the business of moonshine. and done a little bit of mixing and selling of sorts of things like that at some point in time of my life of moonshine, whether it be legal or illegal. And I just thought that would be a good name. Oh, actually, I lied. So here's why I actually named it White Lightning in the very beginning, where I was like the spark, like, ooh, I should name it White Lightning. So back in those first breeding projects, I named my first breeding project White Lightning. It had great white shark in it. Great white shark in it, right?
Yeah.
And for some odd reason, me being the little redneck hick I was at that time, I was like, I'm gonna name it White Lightning. And it had Hindu Kush. It had the Cincy Seeds Hindu Kush, like great white shark, white widow, cross, something, something. I don't know. It's in the little black book, but that's basically what it was. And there's the party I went to, and I would hand out all those little packs of seeds. That was White Lightning that I would hand out. I was like, this is called White Lightning, yada yada yada, and people didn't fucking care. But yeah, so when I was sitting there like, what should I do? What should I name it? And I was like, ooh, White Lightning, in honor of that first seed project that I ever fucking did. But then it also like represented me very well, as you know, because I have a damn moonshine tattoo, of course. But like, yeah, so. But that's basically it, man.
So we're just White Lightning is all over the place around here. Most people that I know, if they're like connected in cannabis in some way, like they're aware of White Lightning, or at least Arluss Webb. So were there big hurdles that you experienced building like the seed breeding brand in this area?
Yeah, very much so. The fun thing about being in the illegal days is that you couldn't tell nobody.
Yeah.
If you didn't want to go to fucking jail, you didn't want to go to prison, which my phone is at 5%, so I'll try to get this going quickly. You didn't tell people shit. You didn't tell nobody. But like, I would sell people a bag of weed, and it would be like, oh, I know this guy. This guy grows it. Oh yeah, and it would kill me inside because I wanted to be like, huh, I grew that fucking shit. Like that shit was me. You know, like you wanted to tell people, but you couldn't. So it was like you had your close knit crews of people that you grew with, and you couldn't do that shit. Like it's changed.
Yeah. No, yeah. That is not the truth. I'm with you on that. So So you mentioned that you got 5% left.
Yeah, but yeah. So the funny thing is about being quiet. I'm sorry, I'm stoned too.
No,
I took a bunch of those hatchets from the Andy Dillon glassware. Andy Dillon.
Yeah.
But yeah. But when I first started getting into the seed company and like breeding and like kind of revealing my history with cannabis privately to the public, I had people that were friends with me that weren't really that close of friends, you know what I mean? But they've known me for a long time, who have always known I've always been a stoner, but didn't know that I grew or did any of the things that I do.
Right.
Suddenly being like, no, you're not. I've never seen your plants. Yeah, because you're a fucking narc. Like, duh, you got a big mouth. I've never seen you yet. You know, like all sorts of people being like, or what makes you think that you're any smarter at growing weed than me? I don't think I'm any smarter than anybody, but I do know a good bit about growing cannabis and about cannabis history and about cannabis science and about cannabis genetics and about cannabis breeding and about cooking with yeah, it kills me, dude. Like, I try to stay humble, you know, like there's so many people out here that I remember like when things became legal around here and I got online and I started like seeing like who's who and like who knew stuff. And I realized like not a lot of people know as much as I did about it.
Yeah.
I know from those days of the forum days and a larger community that I don't really know, but this much, because weed is a vast ocean of knowledge, and you can go down so many rivers of different streams of cannabis, and you could spend years trying to cover it all. Oh. Nobody's a master, and I'm constantly learning. Like, I'm learning new shit constantly about weed and like growing and breeding, you know. So And that's the thing. Like, you just got to get out there and learn and practice and do it. And there's probably 5 other people that are out here watching that are like, I'm way smarter than he is at cannabis, and I know way more than he does. And my encouragement is, cool, that means you should be up here doing it. I shouldn't, so why aren't you here doing it? Please come out and help us. Come help us. Let us work together. Let's make this better. Like, help me, help them. You know?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Like, you know, I feel like a dummy when I'm around some of you guys. Like, you start talking about some terpene knowledge and some of your cannabis knowledge, and like some people ask me questions and they're like, what do you mean you don't know the answers? And I'm like, dude, I'm a person who happens to know a lot of people who know things. So if I don't know the answer, I'll hit you up. I'll hit Mr. Ian Hill up. I'll hit Benjamin up. I'll hit, you know, whoever, Doc, if I have to. You know, if it gets that deep, I'll call Doc, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And he's a no bullshitter, so you know he'll give us the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah. So so I know we only got a few minutes left here. We have a number of comments through. We'll get through it. We'll get through a few of these, but
yeah, send them up.
Yeah, and whatever we can't get through, maybe we'll attend to next week. So we got someone with some joy. Yeah, Marcy. She said, "What's up? 3 raccoons in a cart." And complimented your mastery. You know, Jen Bailey says hi. Sabrina Farlow said she couldn't figure out if she was actually hearing a bird or if she was just really high. Oh, lots of people say yes. Like, hey, you guys need white lightning seeds. So if people are looking to get access to white lightning seeds genetics, like, how do they get in touch with you? Like, what can they do?
So the past year or two, I took a little bit of a break to handle some personal stuff. So I haven't been making as many seeds, and I don't have as large of a facility as I did before. So I'm pumping out a little slower than normal. Photo period, friends, you're going to hate me this year because I'm working on autoflowers. That's kind of the goal right now for like the next 6 months at least. I might pump out some photo periods at the end of the outdoor season, but I do have good news. I still have the Callaway Cough Breath regular seed. I'm getting ready to release a couple of packs of those out next week. I'll announce it. Don't hit me up now. I'll announce it. But if you still want some of the feminized Chiroptera marmalades, I've got a great deal, dude. $20, 5 seeds, feminized blueberry cross of lime. That's a collaboration with Jolly Pond. Massive plants, purple buds. Like, it's a great plant. Chiroptera is good. Marmalade makes it even better with bigger buds, a little bit bigger of a harvest. Some of those lime phenos, but I've got those going on. You can hit me up in the DMs for those. It's $20, $7 for shipping.
Is that what you gave me on the last time that I was with you at your old place looking at a seed project? You gave me some flour to take to Mr. Mudd. I think it was Chiroptera marmalade. I say that because I'm about to smoke some of it.
Maybe.
Yes, we're gonna say because it had some lime. It had some lime to it, and it's a little purple.
It might have been the Goosebumps.
I was pretty sure there was some type of marmalade.
Well, Goosebumps also has marmalade in it.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a train wreck X marmalade.
Oh, you know what? That might be. I was flipping through my messages. Oh yeah, gotta get it in. Now I was looking through my messages before we started to see if I could find it. But
get it.
The farm life, yeah, that makes it hard to chop them. But Amsterdam and Vancouver used to be the destination for anything weed. Roger Fralin said. Rock Farm says, "What's up?"
In British Columbia, that's another cool spot to go visit.
Yeah, some BC Big Bud.
That was the best back in the day. Like when I was traveling, best bud I ever seen around BC. Like BC killed it.
Now, Marcia says she's gonna miss you in May.
Yeah, miss that shot. Boom, boom.
We haven't got time for that. We'll have to do that next week. So we had a question about the story about Hyena F2, but we will So guys, like I said, RSA's only got a couple of percent left, which works out well-ish for us because we were at about an hour. I was talking with them earlier, and we're looking at next week doing an in-person interview where we'll continue some of this conversation. And I'm gonna talk to Arluss here about like what else we might do, but maybe a little demo of like one of his more simple like treats or something. I don't know.
No, so we're looking really high.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. Either that, we'll just be getting really, really high. That's like no promises, but the one thing is that we'll be having fun for sure.
Definitely. Well, thanks for having me, NS. Before I go, I want to say that I love the show, dude. I love what you're doing, and I'm glad you're doing this for the community.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's all for the community. We gotta put people on. There's like we're still kind of fractured because like we don't get a lot of the support that we need. That like you can't just post on like Instagram willy nilly. There's all these restrictions. So like if we don't talk about it, people may not hear about it. People need to know like how like you do.
I want to post more weed pictures than I do, but I don't because I'm afraid that I'm gonna lose those accounts.
No. No, we all moved to Twitter. If not for the fact that it's super effed like in the A, but like I like from what I'm hearing, I was just looking at this Dopajola podcast, and he was talking about how basically there are like no restrictions on cannabis content on Twitter right now. Like you can literally post whatever you want cannabis wise, as long as you're not just like being a blatant plug.
Yeah.
And even then, I've seen people kind of doing that. Like, yeah, but apparently it is
everywhere.
Cannabis.
I see Facebook sponsored ads for plugs.
Yeah, dude. Like
what? Hey, if you're in the Atlanta area and you need to hit up, blah 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 blah. And I'm like,
delivered to your door.
How in the what? This is a trap.
But yes, here I'll go ahead and let you go. Before we lose you prematurely. Yeah, thank you so much for being on tonight. It was really, really great. Some awesome stories.
Yeah, man. Thanks for letting me tell them. I know that I can ramble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's awesome. I loved it. Honestly, we would definitely keep rolling if not for the power constraints. But that's okay though. Just more stuff for next week.
Definitely, and we'll get a 3-finger sack next week for the old school people.
Yeah, you guys heard it. Wait, no, I got there. There we go.
You know what a 3-finger is?
Yeah, is that so 3 fingers almost was 3 fingers a half O, right?
Yeah. Or was it 2-finger half O, 4-finger O? Hey, older folks in the comments, we're kind of younger in that mid-generation. Help us out. How did you weigh with fingers exactly again? It's been a long time. Was it 2-finger half ounce? I remember if you had a dealer with fat fingers, you got hooked up.
Nice. Yeah, let's see if anyone wants to chime in on that. Yo, Justin Williams, he says, yo, what's up? White Lightning Seeds. Yo, dap it up.
Check out Savage Land Exotics. Hardest working breeder in the fucking state. Dude fucking kills it.
Yeah.
And dude, somebody's been posting about that Roanoke stank. Y'all need to hop on that. Trev Allen's Michigan stank cut crossed with the pineapple upside down cake that I did to make Stinky Panky.
What?
That he then he crossed up Stinky Panky with his local skunk. I want to say, don't let me screw this up, Justin. You can comment it, but he'll comment it. But yeah, it's the Roanoke stank. Yeah, man. Get you some Roanoke stank from Savage Land Exotics. Some Myrtle Beach cats be doing it up there, boy. Not Myrtle Beach, Virginia Beach. God, I'm stoned. Damn hash it.
Yeah, I say Rock Farm said lid is a Q, 3-finger half, whole hand is an OZ. That kind of looks right.
It's a fat fucking ounce. I want to say 4 fingers. I want to say 4 fingers was. I don't with the thumb.
Actually, hold up here. I'll throw it up. Oh wait. Oh, whoops! Threw up the wrong thing. So both local skunk F3 to make Stankalicious, and we crossed it to the roadkill for Roanoke stink foams.
Okay. So Stankalicious to Roanoke Stank.
Ah, yes, yeah. And what we missed from the rock farm is they're like, yes, there it is. Yeah. Lit as a cue, three fingers half, whole hand, or Z. Yo, Deidre says, what's up? Hey, Deidre, how you doing, girl?
What's up, Mama?
Yeah. So you're catching us just at the end though. But hey, if you send it on the rewind, we've been a really really awesome sesh.
Yeah.
In fact, so since we're going into putting a pin in it, and you haven't like suddenly like dropped.
I've been at 1%. I've been at 1% for like ever. It feels like.
Here, hold on. Let me see if
Like
I
it
can.
just drop, and that's like 1%. Now it's like,
It's like flickering.
I'm gonna hang on to the end, then I'll go charge it. I got dinner made, but I'm waiting.
Here, let's real quick. Hold on one second. And bow. All right.
Bam.
So this here is the flower from when we were at your old place, smelling through all of your plants, and look at just that lovely sparkle. Okay, let's see. Actually, I'm just gonna break all the rules and just get.
Was it Kodama?
No, not Kodama. You asked me.
Kodama's got that lemon heavy.
This also has like a kind of like.
Then it must have. If it might have been, if it was out of the, was it out of the greenhouse?
Yeah, it was out of the greenhouse.
Then it was. Then it's Goosebumps.
So okay. So you're pretty sure it's Goosebumps then.
There was nothing but Goosebumps in that greenhouse.
Yeah, this is like really. This is like really sweet.
It's a train wreck crossed with. It's train wreck crossed with Limetta.
Yeah, that's what it was. The train. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because you told me
Yeah,
it was like
one from Humboldt CSI that I hunted out of a 10-pack. Not a big hunt, but I got two that I really liked the heavy terpenes on. One was I called Blockhead, which was kind of short, squat, and grew into a bush. And then the other one had your typical sativa growing up to the sky. And I went with that one for the selection.
Oh, and here we go. Here, hold up. I found yeah, because this was like obviously from your seed project. Here we go.
Yeah.
And
the seed pods are like frosty as shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, this is seed. Yeah, that's mature.
Oh yeah. That's right. Every time
so that is Goosebumps crossed with pearly peanut butter breasts in that seed.
Ooh.
From Webb genetics. So it's got like peanut butter runts. It's got the white truffles. It's got gorilla butter, peanut butter breath, of course, and the father's side. And then on your mother's side, you've got the train wreck crossed with Jolly Pond's Limetta marmalade.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious to see how the progeny on that. I called that caveman candy. The next generation of that what you got in the seed there.
You know what? I mean, if it's got the type of flavors rocking through it that this Goosebumps is putting out right now, I can definitely see caveman candy, because this is just smelling so sweet right now. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god.
Almost like lemon head candy to a point. It's not sour. Yeah. It's like sugary sour sweet.
Very very sugary sour sweet. Definitely lemon head, like, or even you know how they make the different versions of lemon heads that are different flavors, you know? This tastes like the cherry lemon head. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like, it's not sour, but it's like really, really cherry.
No, I haven't tried that
one. Yeah, hell, maybe it might have been more of like a Baltimore thing or something. Because I always saw them at the corner stores. But yeah, wow, that's here. Hold on, let me swing that back. Yo, this smells.
Justin said he got a lot of like metallic smell off of it.
Yeah, let's see where.
He grew some out because this was very metallic to him.
Yeah. Now let's see that. Let's see the flavor on this. I put it in my storage, and I think I did end up giving some of it to we plucked a bunch of seeds out of it that Roger took, and then he was just like, here, you can take the rest of the bud if like it
Yeah.
doesn't good.
Roger liked the goosebumps as well. He was about it.
Yeah, and I was like, damn right, I'm going to smoke
He was
this.
saying, he was like talking. That was the hash that he was talking about. That was super strong.
Really?
Yeah, the train wreck hash
Oh,
that he made. Remember, or had
yeah.
Rock Farm made.
Yeah.
And if Roger says it's strong, it's just strong because Roger will be smoking.
Oh wow. For wow, wow for flower that was quite literally broken off as a branch, and then dried like basically by just like sitting out and riding around with me while I was like taking care of stuff, and then going into a jar, like that. Like basically, this was not a respectful dry or cure, and that was smooth and flavorful and also loaded with seeds. I got all the seeds out. But yeah, it wasn't the smoke wasn't like as sweet as I was expecting, like off the nose. But of course, y'all heard what I just did to it. Like where I've been doing to it for the last however many months, like since before fall. um, but the flavor, it came together really uniformly. It had this really nice like earth, leathery cherry, I guess like a subtle hint of fruit on it. No, I'm yeah, oh yeah, like to have this in an actual like expressed like grown for consumption form rather than like I need the seeds from this. Like, yeah, this is a yes, what they call what do they say? Legit AF. I am going to assume, yes, from that quiet, that we lost our Mr. Arluss Webb. It was absolutely wonderful having him on. This year was, yeah, that's awesome. White Lightning Seeds, very very talented grower. I see that we got quite a few questions in here, a few comments that we didn't quite get to. Um, let's see, Deidre, you said had someone try to get my hyena the other day. Well, nope. um, yes, we did lose the three raccoons in a trench coat, unfortunately, but that's okay, guys. We are going to have Arliss back on next week. We've already been talking about having an in-person interview. That's part of this whole series that I'm doing here is also like getting more of that in-person interaction, so that like um, you can get a little more interactive, more dynamic, maybe have more opportunities for better education. Hopefully, I can convince him to do a little demo of like how he makes like one of his like amazing products, because he makes lots and lots of like just really amazingly tasting and amazing effect like infusions. So like that's another aspect. He's a really like multi-talented, multifaceted individual in the cannabis space. He's not just a breeder, but also very talented with like the confectionery aspects of that, which we unfortunately didn't quite get to today. But that's always more goodness for next time. But yeah, so I'll look through some of these comments real quick just to make sure that there's nothing I missed. And any questions that you guys had for Arliss that's in here, I'm going to take note of them, and I'll make sure to ask him them next week, because there's some really good questions in here. For sure. Like I know early on, yeah, Blue Ridge Home asked what the story behind his Hyena F2. We're definitely going to get that story for sure. And then let's see. Um, and then the can challenge, right? It was asking about the can challenge. Yeah, we'll find out about that too. But yeah, I'll make sure to go through and save these comments. But I guess like kind of tagging back to what we were talking about the stay with the Stinkalicious. So Justin said Stinkalicious is Regs crossed with LAC Skunk. Roanoke is crossed to Roadkill for Femmes, two different cultivars. Um, and also that Stinky Panky times local skunk F3 is Stinkalicious Regs Roanoke Stank is Femme Stinky Panky same pheno like times Roadkill. So just like a point of clarification. Um, oh, and you said your goosebumps came through really metallic. Interesting, interesting. Smoking this here. Um, like if we are to assume that this truly is the goosebump switch, like I feel like we narrowed it down pretty good. Because I remember when we were in his smaller greenhouse getting it out, and like we were only really looking at like greenhouse versus like his raised garden, his raised bed. So yeah, so like, but that I wouldn't say too much of a. If anything, there's a tiny bit like a. No, no, I don't notice it. So it could be something that goes away in its cure, possibly. Um, like a yeah, but this had a really nice this had a really nice earth to it, really nice leather that was rocking about it. But yeah, so just make sure that there's nothing that I missed that I could probably answer today. What's up, Daniel? Feeling. Um, and Is it true? Blue Ridge Home asks, is it true he has a crew of raccoons he sends out on missions? If so, could he bring some of them on air? Oh, best believe we're going to ask this question later. Oh, we're definitely going to ask Arliss that question. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. The off-camera struggle. Yeah, that was him wrestling with the chickens. That was a good time. I'm glad we caught that. I'm glad we got that. Um, let's see. Ricky Bobby. She totally caught it. Yeah, the Marcy totally caught it. That I was gonna say that. Like, if you're not first, you're last. Yeah. Uh, or you were just calling Bobby Ricky Bobby. I look, like, either way. um, let's see. Yeah, so Roger had made a comment earlier that he was like telling a guy about CBD today that it's really good for glaucoma. Yes, like CBG is a cannabidiol is a absolutely amazing cannabinoid. It is considered the god cannabinoid or the mother cannabinoid because all cannabinoids in cannabis start out as CBG and then they turn into other cannabinoids. It's like a stem cell like of cannabinoids in a sense. And it has amazing benefits on its own. I know many people that even use it to help them deal with cannabis hypermeiosis syndrome, like or like a possible like precondition to that, where they feel nausea when consuming cannabis. Whereas I guess the full CHS would be just like as soon as you consume it, there's severe nausea with projectile vomiting that's only remediated with like heat, like in the form of a shower. But yeah, like CBG, people like I've had people anecdotally tell me that it's helped them with managing like those bouts of nausea that they get in relationship to cannabis once that started happening for them. So there's that's possibility. It amazing anti-inflammatory effects. Um, and it has even been shown to without like separate of interacting with the endocannabinoid system potential to like have an antagonistic effect on cancer cells when it's in direct contact with them. Now, while this is like research that's still pretty small scale, but it's something I covered like in weeks past. But yeah, that's absolutely awesome. Fabian said, "Yep, yeah, yeah, digging the jersey. Yes, yes, absolutely for that Washington. And best part, I got it on like the Harry Potter day, so I'm freaking Gryffindor. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite Lego jerseys to rock. But appreciate the love for that. Um, Yeah, Roger says that he believes that corn to be the best possible companion plant for cannabis. And well, I mean, I feel like that best can be a subjective thing depending on what what you're looking to accomplish with there. But I do know that the rooting hormones that are produced by germinating corn and like the way that they interact with the rhizosphere in the soil, it can have very beneficial interactions with cannabis as well. So I mean, as far as companion plants go, that there's definitely that factor. Well, although there are so many companion plants out there that have such great benefits, like I've always been like really curious to like people talk about building wild gardens and stuff like that where basically like all the plants kind of interact and help each other. I would love to build that, but all centered around cannabis, like different rings or different dispersals or arrangements of flowers and plants and even vegetables or stuff that like people would consume, but all of them have the primary purpose of being a companion plant to each other and for the cannabis plant. And then they might have secondary purposes for like, oh, it's pretty, oh, I can eat that, oh, that smells nice, or whatever. But like that's something like a dream that I have had, because like what kind of cannabis would come when it is put into that environment where every plant there is meant to be of benefit to it in some way, shape, or form, without also being like without having negative interactions with each other, because that's also important, right? There's no point in having two companion plants if they are fighting for the same resources, or they try to choke each other out, or have whatever. But yeah, definitely one of those things that like I've been like very like curious and passionate about over the years, is like developing that, of just like the space to create something like that. And I feel like that's everyone's crux, probably, is like committing like that much space to that, because you're basically going to be like converting your backyard or whatever. um, let's see. Yes, Rock Farm said, "Oh, right, like willow watermelon. Man, that willow stuff is crazy, y'all. Like, I know that probably makes me seem like a bitch. Like, I was a kid. Like, um, I was definitely scared. Let's see. But here, most of this stuff is, I think we got it pretty covered. If there's anything that I missed, definitely come back and see, like, ask it again, or like to make sure that I caught it myself. Because I'm definitely going to be going through and any of these questions that like I'm going to be writing them down so that we can ask Arluss next week. But yeah, so I think that'll do it for us, guys. This was a really awesome episode. Had some really great comments, some really great stories from Arliss. It's super exciting, and very much looking forward to next week's episode. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. I know this one was like Tuesday, like we had a bit of a day like an extra podcast basically this week, due to the Arliss having a migraine yesterday. But check us out for next Monday at 8 p.m., which is when we'll be aiming to do for that. Although I will keep you guys updated if for whatever reason we like set for a different day that week. Although, yeah, but I love you guys. Make sure that you are making time for yourselves every day. Um, Make sure that you're showing yourself love. Show love to the green goddess, Mama Ja. Um, Cannabis takes care of us. We gotta take care of it. Her. Well, I mean, we gotta show love to the males too. Yeah. But yeah, I'm Alchemist Ganjier, and this is Enki's Canonical, and have your guys self a great night. Wow. Peace. All right, I think I got all the questions written down. Night, y'all. Love y'all.